I would love to win an Oscar, especially on my first nomination. Hey, it's Michael, aka Oscar Man. And several actors were fortunate to win an Academy Award on their first and only try. For this video, I'm only going to discuss winners in the lead categories, where going one for one is much more rare than it is in the supporting races. And to be fair, I'll just mention those winners who are no longer with us, even though there are some still alive who likely won't be nominated again. Wink, wink. So I'm going to skip her and go to another winner, Judy Holliday, Best Actress of 1950. There's been a lot of discussion on this channel about Holliday's surprise win, but let me just ask this. If you take away Betty Davis in All About Eve and Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard, what would you think about Holliday's performance on its own merits?
No wonder about it.
What makes you think I'm 30?
I didn't mean you.
Oh, yes, you did.
I swear.
You certainly know how to get me sore.
I'm sorry.
30? Do I look 30 to you?
No.
But what'd you say it for?
I don't know. How old are you?
29.
She had the advantage of perfecting the role in Born Yesterday on Broadway, to date, one of the longest running plays in history, where she created the character of Billy Dawn.
Do you mind?
Gin.
Notice I asked what you thought of Holliday's performance rather than the film, because while I think she was excellent, I found the movie overall somewhat draggy, which sometimes happens when stage works are adapted to the screen. In any case, Born Yesterday was the only time Judy Holliday was nominated for an Oscar, and though it was rare that a comedic performance won, it still is, especially against some of the strongest competition ever for the category, I think this remains the highlight of Holliday's brief film career, which consisted of only 6 more films before her untimely death in 1965 at the age of 43. Cliff Robertson had appeared in nearly 20 films before receiving his first and only Oscar nomination for the film Charlie, playing a man who undergoes a surgical procedure that triples his IQ.
You're not very smart. You're not even as smart as a mouse. Because he knows. Algernon showed me. The answer to the question, Charlie Gordon, is Charlie Gordon is a fella who will very shortly be what he used to be.
Believe it or not, at the time, Charlie was a critical and box office success, and Robertson received great reviews for his performance.
Well, I forgot. I went to the library and I never seen so many books in my life.
Don't forget the clinic tomorrow night.
No, I'm going to write it down on my blackboard twice, I promise.
I know viewers of this channel are not overly enthused with this Oscar win because of Robertson's competition that year. That said, Cliff Robertson's career got a significant boost after Charlie, and the actor became a top-billed leading man in a succession of film and television roles for the next 30 years, though he was blacklisted from appearing in a studio film for 5 years following a scandal with Columbia Pictures. Cliff Robertson passed away in 2011 at the age of 88. Marty was originally produced on television 2 years prior to its release as a film. Rod Steiger originated the title role, but declined to repeat it on film because he refused to sign a multi-picture commitment with the producers. That left the door open for Ernest Borgnine, who before then had worked in a dozen films, most notably From Here to Eternity. Marty was a small film, both in budget and story, and Borgnine's portrayal of a lonely butcher seeking love proved to be a professional triumph, where he swept all the awards for 1955.
I'm ugly, I'm ugly. Ma, leave me alone. Ma, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? I'm miserable enough as it is. All right, so I'll go to the Stardust Ballroom. I'll put on a blue suit and I'll go. And you know what I'm going to get for my trouble? Heartache. A big night of heartache.
For me, Marty is one of the better films of the decade, a sensitive depiction of loneliness as seen through the eyes of its average, unpretty characters.
And I used to adore my old man because he was always so kind. That's one of the most beautiful things I have in my life, the way my father and mother were. And my father was a real ugly man. So it doesn't matter if you look like a gorilla. See, dogs like us, well, we ain't such dogs as we think we are.
Though he only received the single nomination, after winning the Best Actor Oscar, Ernest Borgnine became an A-list actor, starring in film and television projects for the next 50 years before he died at 95 in 2012. Although David Niven's history with the Oscars may be better known to most for his handling of The Streaker in 1975, his sole nomination and win for Best Actor in 1958's Separate Tables also has a place in Oscar history. His performance as Major David Angus Pollock, a disgraced veteran found guilty of sexual misconduct, remains to date the shortest to win lead actor, clocking in at a mere 23 minutes 39 seconds.
Miss Cooper, the plain fact is that I'm far too much of a coward to stay on here now.
At least you wouldn't be forced into any more of that major stuff, would you?
Well, I might be forced into something a good deal more conclusive. Cleaning the old service revolver, perhaps.
David Niven was no newcomer, having starred in dozens of films prior to his sole Oscar nomination, including the 1956 Best Picture winner Around the World in 80 Days. Following his Oscar win, Niven continued working in films and television until he passed away from ALS in 1983 at the age of 73. Ginger Rogers became a major star in the 1930s, mostly due to her association with Fred Astaire. The dancing partners appeared in several films together and became box office attractions, often the highlight of the films in which they appeared. Rogers also did some dramatic films, perhaps the best of which was 1937's Stage Door. If you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend it. If nothing else, just to watch Rogers, Hepburn, Eve Arden, Ann Miller, and Lucille Ball all together in one film. In 1940's Kitty Foyle, Ginger Rogers won Best Actress for her performance in the title role.
I don't need a piece of paper to prove that I love Win, or that he loves me. You'd be a lot happier with Mark and that little piece of paper than you ever could be with Win and a snug little apartment with a key for him and a key for you. You know what I think? I think you're wrong.
The film was a soap opera-ish tale of a woman torn between two men, and Rogers was just fine. But Academy Award worthy? I don't know. In retrospect, I think it would have been appropriate to honor Ginger Rogers with an honorary Oscar for her excellent career in film. But perhaps the Academy was impressed that Rogers could tackle a dramatic lead all by herself.
You know, and sometimes through the mirror blue, the knights went riding two by two. She hath no loyal knight untrue, the Lady of Shalott.
Dash, Kitty! If you're not reading about those mainline monkeys, you've got your head stuck in a Cinderella book.
Must be wonderful, Pop. You know, after you've been sitting in ashes all of your life, and then suddenly a prince comes
And
along.
when did you sit in any ashes?
I don't mean me. I mean like Cinderella.
Rogers went on to star in films of the 1940s and 50s, most of which was light-hearted fare, as well as an occasional stint on TV and taking over roles in stage musicals such as Hello, Dolly and Mame. Popular throughout her career, Ginger Rogers passed away in 1995 at the age of 83. As I stated earlier, comedic performances are not typically favored by the Academy, but in 1965's Cat Ballou, Lee Marvin's turn in the dual roles of Kid Shalene and Tim Strawn brought him his only Oscar nomination and win.
It First, you don't think you can stand to get hit. Then you realize you can take it, because the blood don't matter and you know you're gonna live. It's a great gift I'm gonna give you, to know that it don't hurt. Fight!
Marvin had eked out a career as a tough guy in a variety of film and television roles, including The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and The Killers. His prior work showed no promise of any comedic skills, yet when Cat Ballou came around, Lee Marvin surprised critics and audiences with his scene-stealing performance.
Folks, then. Hiya, kid. How you doing, kid? Come on in, have a pitcher of milk and some gingerbread. Or come up on the porch and cool your heels for a while. It's hot outside. Because nobody don't make no fun of a friend of Kid Chalene.
Nominated against the likes of Richard Burton, Rod Steiger, Oscar Werner, and Laurence Olivier, Lee Marvin wasn't considered by some to be in serious contention for the Oscar. However, he did win the majority of the Best Actor awards that year, including the BAFTA and Golden Globe. Plus, also appearing in that year's Ship of Fools didn't hurt. So even though the audience roared when Julie Andrews read Marvin's name as the winner,
Lee Marvin in
I think it was a reaction of both surprise and approval. Lee Marvin's stock shot up after his Oscar win, and he starred in dozens of films before his death at age 63 in 1987. Yes, he was very popular with film audiences. Charlton Heston was a box office favorite, the star of The Greatest Show on Earth and 10 Commandments, in addition to 20 other films prior to 1959's Ben-Hur, for which he won Best Actor, his only nomination.
Christ is come. Christ is come.
Where do I find this Christ, if there is such a one?
He'll find you.
I asked you a question and I want an answer.
Your answer's in the fires of hell, Herod.
I have no issue with Heston's successful career. But an Oscar winner? When one remembers that his contemporaries at the time, including Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, Cary Grant, and Montgomery Clift, were passed over by the Academy, well, sorry, Chuck, but I think you won only because Ben-Hur swept the awards, winning at the time a record 11 Oscars.
Find them, Miss Sala. Restore them to me, and I will forget what I vowed with every stroke of that oar you chained me to.
I am not the governor of Judea. I can do nothing without gratis approval.
Then give it.
In fact, if you look at Charlton Heston's achievements, except for Ben-Hur, he only received honorary awards, but no prizes for any specific performances. I think Charlton Heston excelled at popcorn movies such as Planet of the Apes, Airport 75, and Earthquake. Those films offered Heston the type of hero roles for which he became most famous, and allowed him to appear without his shirt in many of them. If you're a Charlton Heston fan, you are among many. I respect that. He may not have been the finest actor in my book, but he worked steadily until his death in 2008 at the age of 84. I'll quickly run through some additional one-and-done performances, starting with an early one. Mary Pickford, Queen of the Silent Screen, used her influence with the fledgling Academy to bag herself a Best Actress Oscar for 1929's Coquette. Hardly the best film on her resume, Pickford wanted an Oscar. I don't blame her. And after that, she likely wasn't too concerned that a second nomination never came her way. Broderick Crawford made a strong impression in 1949's All the King's Men, and he followed his Best Actor win with leading roles, notably the following year's Born Yesterday, before achieving his greatest popularity in the television series Highway Patrol. Another winner who found her greatest success on television was Shirley Booth, the winner of Best Actress for her first film, 1952's Come Back Little Sheba. Booth only made 3 more films after her Oscar win, before becoming a household name as Hazel in the 1960s. Before I discuss a final one nomination, one win actor, I want to offer my thanks to you for watching this video. Traversing through Oscar's rich history is something I've always enjoyed, and I appreciate the opportunity I have to share some of it with you. After the video concludes with a message from an Oscar winner, would you please click on the like button? And if you're not subscribed to the channel, consider joining our awesome community of very knowledgeable and opinionated film enthusiasts. In addition to a new video posted each week, there are daily polls where your votes count. Nurse Ratched. Doesn't get more iconic than this. Would One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest have been an Oscar-winning success without Louise Fletcher's memorable performance? Of course, it's interesting to speculate what might have been had director Milos Forman not changed his mind and went with his first choice for the role, Lily Tomlin. Don't feel too bad for Lily. She went on to make her film debut in Nashville in the role of Linnea, replacing director Robert Altman's first choice, Louise Fletcher. As for Cuckoo's Nest and Nurse Ratched, Louise Fletcher got the part after a handful of meetings with and numerous auditions for director Forman.
You know, Billy, what worries me is how your mother's going to take this.
Please don't tell my
Mr. Washington, put Billy in Dr.
No,
Scooby's
no.
office.
No.
Stay with him till the doctor arrives.
No!
Cuckoo's Nest was only Louise Fletcher's fourth film, though she performed episodic guest starring roles in many television series, including The Untouchables and Perry Mason. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest remained Louise Fletcher's best-known work, and sadly her peak performance, which she followed up with such dreck as The Heretic, Exorcist II, and lowbrow fare such as Invaders from Mars and The Last Sin Eater. Was this an instance of a fluke, where a lesser-known actress lucked out by getting the role of a lifetime?
What you probably don't realize is that we have a lot of old men on this ward who couldn't hear the music if we turned it lower. That music is all they have. Your hand is staining my window.
Was Louise Fletcher among a group of actors who weren't able to showcase their talents following their win? Does the Oscar curse really exist? Perhaps that's a subject for a future video on this channel. I know many of the one-and-done winners in the supporting categories will be suggested by many of you, along with your thoughts on the wins just discussed. As always, I look forward to reading your thoughtful comments. And until the next video, I'll leave you with this.
Well, people have been saying thank you for Oscars for 30 years, and I have nothing to add except thank you.